It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. I am Brad. He's John. Today's date is the 6th of February. It's a Friday. This is the C block. Do I do that right, John? Everything okay with that now, John?
Perfectly, Brad.
Okay. Last night, I went to the Jason Law. I guess it was it was at the Professional Firefighters Hall. And I'm telling you, I got there a little bit after 6 o'clock. It started at 6. I could not find a spot to park on the parking lot. There were that many people there.
Wow. And who's Jason Law, Brad?
Jason Law is one of the 4 guys running for county executive, because I think I'm going to throw my hat into the ring here. So, no, currently there's 3. There's Steve Ehlmann, there is Bill Eigel, and there is Jason Law. Okay, now, first off, I have to ask you an important question. Have you ever met John Conlon in person?
I have not.
Do you have any idea how tall he is?
Let me guess. Is he 4'11"?
I think he's closer to about 6'9".
Whoa! I knew that he was a tall man, but I didn't know he was that tall, Brad. Brad, that's taller than you.
He made me look like a kid. I mean, when I'm standing next to him, I'm like craning my neck to look at him. Okay, first off, if you've ever been to the Professional Firefighters Hall, what's sort of interesting about this is the Professional Firefighters Hall used to be in the middle of nowhere. It's off McMenemy Road. If you know, those of you who don't know that area, if you go south on Mid Rivers Mall Drive, maybe, I don't know, it might be like the second traffic light down from the mall. McMenemy is the road there. You can go to the left or right. You go right, and it used to be in the middle of nowhere. And now it's like boxed in by, everything. There's apartment complexes around it and the whole bit. But it's a cool place. They've got a hall. I've been there for weddings and stuff like that as well too. They've got one of those big when I was at SIU, we didn't have a regular gym. We had what we called the bubble gym. You know what I'm talking about? You know what they talk about, the bubble gym? You know what I'm talking about?
No, what's a bubble gym?
The bubble gym. Matter of fact, there's a company right here in St. Louis called Arizon, Arizon, that makes these things. And it's an inflatable structure that you can have gym, like a gym. They're huge things. They got one of theirs there. You know what I'm talking about? They have these big blowers that keeps it inflated. It's like a big.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant a permanent structure that had like a clear dome over it. No. I get what you're saying.
We called it SIU. We called it the bubble gym. Okay. Place was packed, and I've never met John Conlon before. He comes right over to me. He knows who I am. I'm thinking to myself, how does he know who I am? I met Richard West there. And I said to Richard, Richard, appreciate you doing advertising and radio. You're on the refugee station. You're on Tracy's station, but you're not on my station. And he sort of hems and haws, and I think I may have gotten him an advertiser. But what was interesting about it was that they had the presentation, and they had all the different guys. They had the guy from the FOP, the Missouri FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, and they had all the different union guys there and the whole bit. And I have to admit, they did a really nice job with this. It was very well done. And all the guys, complimented Justin, or I keep wanting to call him Justin, Jason Law, and they, all the accolades and things like that. And the one gentleman who addressed the situation of Justin, here I go again. Why do I keep doing that? Jason, as opposed to Steve Ehlmann and Bill Eigel. They never mentioned Bill Eigel by name, which was interesting, but they made comments about Mr. Eigel being a professional politician and wanting to divide the community, and I'm thinking to myself, okay. But then they talked about Steve Ehlmann, and they very carefully talked about the fact that Steve has done a great job with the county, and that he has really made St. Charles County to a large degree what it is, because he's been the county exec for 12 years now, I think. Isn't that how long it's been? Wouldn't this be, like, if he gets reelected, wouldn't this be his 4th term, I think? Isn't that the way it is?
I thought he was elected around 2000, but I could be wrong.
Well, maybe he's already been there 4 terms. I don't know. He's been there a long time. No, he wasn't there in 2000, because that was the Elliott Davis. God loves you, Elliott. That was
Joe Ortworth.
Joe Ortworth.
Okay, but we get the point. He's been around for quite a while, for
right.
Sure.
And it was really well done. And the interesting part of it was that at the end of all the presentations, and Jason got up there and did a nice job. He really did a nice job. I was impressed by him talking, and I think what impressed me the most was when I had him on the air, he was a little bit stiff on the air. In person, he was really good. He was really good, and talked about the fact that he brought up, and a couple people brought this up, and I thought it was very appropriate. I mean, I could be wrong, my opinion, but they said, look at the city of St. Louis. The city of St. Louis used to be the place to live. Look at St. Louis County. St. Louis County used to be the place to live. And he said, I think this was Jason, he says, and he talked about, I'm a North County boy. How many of you here are from North County? And like 2/3 of the place raised their hand. And he said, if you elect me, we won't let St. Charles County turn into North County, our city of St. Louis. I thought to myself, okay, I got it. You know, and I know people are going to say, well, you're making fun of North County. Once again, John, how many times do I tell you?
Once again.
I still go to North County on a regular basis. I love North County.
I know, because you want to become a martyr who's attacked and ends up shooting someone and then starting a GoFundMe and finally being able to ditch this radio gig. Brad, I appreciate your point about Jason Law. Now, when you brought it up, you bring it up in the context of, I have to admit it was a good event. And I know that you're partial to Steve Ehlmann because you're both geriatrics. But is there a reason why you would doubt that Jason Law would put together a great event and have robust support?
No, I didn't mean it that way. I mean, I thought it was interesting from the respect. Obviously, he's talking to the crowd. He's talking to the crowd, and there were a couple interesting jokes they make about the fact that it was the firefighters against the police. And I think Jason even said, "Remember, we beat you at guns and hoses for the last 3 years," or something like that. If you know what that's all about, the guns and hoses things where they box and it's the firefighters against the police.
Yeah, I think most people know it. Go ahead.
Okay, so I didn't mean to sound like I was condescending, but he's, to a certain extent, I know he was the mayor of Lake St. Louis, but he's a political newbie in the respect that he's in the big times now. You know what I'm saying, John? I do. And I sorry to interrupt, but as I was discussing with a gentleman who I had lunch with yesterday, and this gentleman hadn't met John Conlon before, and I think it's because John is such a young guy, and this gentleman had been really involved in stuff, a decade ago, half decade ago. The point is, it's a fact that Jason got into this race thinking that it would be him versus Mike Ehlmann versus Bill Eigel. And then when you have Ehlmann withdraw and you have Ehlmann decide to stick around, that changes the dynamics of the race. And so you have to be agile and you have to be flexible. Right. And I will say this, not to stroke John Conlon, but I think he did a great job. I was watching the guy. He's, moving around the room, shaking hands, keeping things on time. He's, telling people, go here, do this, do that. I thought to myself, he can't be. I would say the guy's, 28, 29? He's a young dude, isn't he?
I'm sure he's in his 20s. Yeah, I'm not sure what his age is. Yeah.
Right. And he's sharp as hold on a minute. Sharp as a tack and super, super, super friendly. You know what I'm saying, John? He doesn't come across, and to me, he doesn't come across as one of the politician types. Exactly what I said about Trump, and people have said that about Trump. It's to the point, remember when, if you go back in history, you go back to the original presidential debates in 2016, when they were still trying to figure out who's going to be the Republican candidate, and it was Trump and like 16 other guys on stage. Remember that, John? Remember the crazy thing?
I do remember that, Brad.
And what was the thing that made Trump stand out from the rest?
His ability to use off-color humor at a debate, Brad. Or was it the fact that he had an event in St. Louis and even Brad Hildebrand turned the corner and saw the line and said, that man's going to be president?
He wasn't stilted and he wasn't like a polished politician. He was a dude. He was a guy that you could go to lunch with and have a good time and talk about things, talk about this, talk about that. You know what I'm saying? He just
I do. And everybody enjoys grabbing him by the you-know-what, right, Brad? He could just get on a bus with Billy Bush and acknowledge the reality of women.
Okay, John, you had to go there.
Could we get some angry emails from Nina Needlepoint again, Brad, by the end of the week? I don't think you have gotten an angry text in at least 2 weeks.
Man, what is with you? You just won't let that go, will you? I mean,
where is our thank you, Brad?
You don't want me to call and find out how the event went?
Absolutely not.
You don't.
But I bet when she puts together her next event with paltry attendance that lets everyone down, I doubt she'll lean on you because she'll think back and think, wow, I forgot to thank Brad and that magnanimous gentleman he does the show with for everything they did to tirelessly promote my event. Anyway, Brad, I got us off track. Billy Bush, Donald Trump, what a combination, Brad. Brad, and congratulations, you made it through the week. Nobody noticed several St. Louis stops were on the Jeffrey Epstein travel itinerary. They were stopped off Kiska Road, and nobody wondered why they stopped by your studio. So congratulations, you were whistling past the graveyard there.
John, Mr. Epstein, man, I'm telling you, that guy knows how to party. I mean, you're talking to, a lot of people don't know this about me, but the East Side, if you want to go to the East Side, take me with you. I'll show you everything you need to know about the East Side. John, say goodbye.
See you on Monday, Brad.